What's going on, everyone? We back. Marvel's made some news. I want to talk about it. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? We back. Appreciate y'all logging on, joining me here. Corbin Loves Comics is the channel that's trying to grow up in here. So stay tuned. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that. Leave your comments. I really would appreciate it. Give some feedback, start a conversation. We got some Marvel news. Marvel's been pretty consistent in terms of dropping news way in advance for things that are coming later. I guess to generate some hype, presumably, but they're really interesting in doing that. Especially on the comic side. And so I want to start with some news. Let's start with some of the more interesting things first, and then we can end on what I think is more of a happier note for me personally. So the first thing, Marvel came out a bunch of different things, but we have Incursions. I'm going to share the press release here. I'm going to read it here for y'all. Time runs out in new Incursions one-shots as the Marvel, multiverse collides. 5 new one-shots revisit the cataclysmic days before Secret Wars, bringing iconic Marvel universes together in battles where only one reality can survive. Oh my God, crazy. This November, return to when time ran out. 5 multiverse-shattering Incursion one-shots will harken back to the advent of Jonathan Hickman and Assad Ribich's Secret Wars 2015, so about a decade ago, revealing the untold battles from the Marvel Multiverse's final days. This series will kick off with X-Men Incursions #1 by Alex Packnadel and Jim Toe, pitting 2 iconic mutant realities, Days of Future Past and House of M, against each other. This series continues with Spider-Man Incursions by Christos Gage and Moore, Fantastic Four Incursions #1 by Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan, and Paco Medina, X-Men 92 Incursions by Chris Yost, Craig Collin Moore, and Avengers Incursions 1 by Al Ewing and Fran Marisco Mancilla. In each one-shot, worlds from Marvel history collide with only one left standing. Fans will journey across a wide range of universes from Marvel storytelling, including classic eras, alternate timelines, and beloved media adaptations. It was a catastrophe that led to the end of both the Ultimate and Marvel universes and birthed the conflict known as Secret Wars, but not every story of these dark days has been told. I would beg to differ. I think the stories have been told. I think they have been told. I think that we don't have to go down that path. Personally, I feel like, sure. I mean, here's the thing. I'm all about taking chances, making mistakes. Shout out to Miss Frizzle. If y'all watched Magic School Bus, grew up with that. This is what it was, right? I'm all about that. Like, sure, sign me up. But I feel like when you're going down, you have the Midnight Universe coming out. You are going to do your inevitable Doomsday tie-ins again, right? You're coming out of the Spider-Man brand new day, brand new morning, brand new hour stuff. You still, I mean, a book just came out this past week by Kevin Smith, which, good God, not my book. It might be yours. It was not mine. It's a late book spilling out of the event of the summer for Marvel, right? So I feel like with all these different storylines and new projects and things that you're trying to really balance, to take a needless step back into a universe that was interesting, and I get it. Secret Wars is going to be the big Marvel event of 2027. So why not do that in early 2027? I don't know. I feel like, sure. I mean, it's going to be interesting seeing, I guess, Days of Future Past mixed with House of M. What could that be? I don't know, right? X-Men 92, we know that's only in there because of X-Men 97 and the big buzz that's just had. So it's almost like Marvel's like trying to cash in, at least the comic side, on the more recent stuff done by their media side. But you see that? You want to read that? You see that? And I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't know. I feel almost hypocritical complaining about more comics as a comic guy who loves to see more comics in the marketplace. That's a great thing. We want to see more of that. But I also want to see comics that make sense. Comics that are interesting. Comics that are, encouraging me to like go into these worlds more. And I don't quite know if this is that. Those are my thoughts on that, which actually leads me to the next story that I wanted to kind of highlight here, which is, listen, we know the history of Spider-Man. We know the history of Venom. We know the symbiotes, right? We've seen 3 different Venom movies. We've had a tease of Venom in the Spider-Man movie. We've had Venom War, right? We've had King in Black, Queen in Black, your mama's black. I'm just kidding. But like we've had all these Venom events, and Venom is the hot commodity right now, right? I actually enjoyed Spider-Man Venom Death Spiral. I liked that event. But that came recently this year. So now we're getting more Venom. And this time Marvel's like, hey, listen, what if we went back and told the story of when Spider-Man first came into contact with Venom, with the symbiote, but let's do it from like the symbiote's point of view back then, which I'm gonna share the article for that too, because why not? But why? Why is the better question. All right. Written by Ryan Stegman with art by Carlos Gomez. The series will go back to the beginning to figure out what makes Venom tick. Here's the quote. For anyone in my generation, this story was as exciting as it gets, Stegman said via a press release. However, it did leave a lot of questions about Eddie that needed answering. Hope I can make that happen. What questions? I'm just curious. What questions? Why he turned into a certain shirt? How long did he wait to start to communicate with Peter? Like, I'm curious as to what those questions are. You know, what was he doing before he ran to Peter? And I feel like there's been enough like one shots and different events where we've kind of seen that. Like, it's not a complete mystery. I've never been like, oh wow, yeah, I wonder what, you know, what Venom was doing, what what he was doing before Peter came along. And you know, how was he as a pair of clothes, you know, and I don't understand it per se. Um, Shout out to Ryan Stegman, I guess. And here's the thing: I'm not against, especially for Venom stories. I'm not against going back in time for stories that like highlight, you know, a certain aspect of a character's career, a character's comic storyline. You know, I'm not against that at all. Actually, I know I was talking with a friend of mine on a recent show I was on where we were discussing Mark Waid's Batman and Robin's dynamic duels, and people are like, we've already seen that story. And it's like, yes and no. Like, sure, if you go back, you know, to like the 40s and 50s when Batman and Robin first got together, then sure, you've had those origin stories, but they haven't been done that much. I mean, a lot of the stuff from that point on, you know, you've had Dick Grayson be his own man, right? You revisit every once in a while, but it's not a thing like that. And I feel like in this specific case, with Mark Waid being a guy who knows how to write, you know, characters in general, but especially DC, and especially gets that time, he can go back in this nostalgic era and give it a fresh look, right? Similarly, you had a Venom Lethal Protector. I'm trying to find it right now. A Venom Lethal Protector throwback graphic novel that came out, I want to say in 2022. And I think it was, yep, it was. And this was, I'm looking at it right now. Excuse me. I know it's not the best radio here. David Michelini, Ivan Florelli, and Ken Lashley. And it was going back, it was trying to bring it back to basics before Carnage, before Space Gods, before there were clones, before there were toxins, before Eddie Brock knew he was a father. Like stripping it back to just Eddie Brock, down his luck reporter, finding the Venom symbiote, and going through that, right? And having adventures that we may not have known about, especially since Venom was killing people back then. So not like those characters live to tell future tales, right? And going back and kind of stripping some of the more modern lore that's on Venom and giving us something that is fun, interesting, kind of throwaway, but also a nod to an earlier time because the Venom Lethal Protector days are long gone. Like it's been a while. So on that note, I kind of took a little segue there. On that note, I'm excited by it. Sure, like give us something from back then, you know, with, you know, the Peter Parker and his, you know, friends and stuff from that time and, you know, the shout to the 80s and whatever, but make it make sense. Venom Lethal Protector made sense. I wanted to see, you know, the early days when Venom was just trying to figure out who he was and was having stories that didn't necessarily include Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and, you know, what he was kind of getting into. That's fun. Those are one-offs. Those are cool. The Venom POV, I don't know. Am I gonna pick it up? Yes, but am I excited? No. I mean, Ryan Stegman's a talented comic creator, so maybe there's trying to think like a different way he wants to go about it that we're not aware of. It's possible. I don't see it, but I guess we'll see. And here's the thing: win, lose, or draw. It could be the best book I've read in a while. It could be straight trash. It's 5 issues. Marvel's hitting that 5 issue button, as they should in this case. But they're hitting it. It'll be fine. A clear beginning, clear middle, clear end. Goodbye. Right. So why not? And I guess we'll get to see some classic Venom images. So sure. All right. Let's move on. In other news of books that are coming out that interesting as to why they're coming out. We have a Jean Grey one shot. Or not a one shot, excuse me, a Jean Grey series rather. One shot would have been easier to talk about here. Jean Grey solo comic book. Gonna share that here. Again from Marvel, Jean Grey by Jed MacKay and Roger Antonio, 5-issue limited series spitting directly of DNX. Launches this November. I'm going to read the bit here. Quote, Jean Grey is coming home and she's bringing the fire. Following her intergalactic adventures as Phoenix, Jean Grey returns to Earth this November in Jean Grey #1, the start of a 5-issue limited series from X-Men 2024, writer Jed MacKay and acclaimed artist Roger Antonio, known for his recent work on Cyclops this past year. Announced earlier today in AIPT Comics X-Men Monday column, the series comes hot on the heels of DNX, the upcoming X-Men and Fantastic Four crossover from MacKay and artist Federico Vincentini. The shocking conclusion of DNX sends Jean racing back to Earth, only to find the X-Men's world dramatically changed. The fallout she was too late to stop will ignite a new era for MacKay's work on X-Men, and it all begins here. Okay, bring on re-entry in the aftermath of DNX. The Phoenix head to Earth. Jean Grey is aflame within. When she touches down, will she consume all she touches, or will she maintain control of the life-giving, life-taking power coursing through her? That cover's not bad. Joelle Jones did the dang thing. I like it. It's nice. You got the orange. Just no subtlety here. It's a Phoenix Force, mother truckers. You know what I mean? Comes out November 25th. Quote, more than anything, it felt like it was time. Jean coming to X-Men was largely precluded by the Phoenix series that was running when we launched, and even after that wrapped, I continued to hold off on it until the time seemed right. After all, adding the Phoenix to your team book throws off the balance in a pretty dramatic way. Now, post DNX, we're going to see the X-Men in a position to need Jean Grey, and Jean Grey in a position to need the X-Men. Dovetailing that into this moment being one where Jean is in the public consciousness more than she has previously just worked. And then X-Men editor Tom Brovart shared, in terms of after effects, you already know about one thing that'll be coming straight out of it, Jean Grey. And it'll have an impact on the launch of Maximum X-Men as well, though not to the point where we'll have to read one to follow the other. The effects will also ripple out to some degree across the other books, but the biggest place it will hit is Alaska, and in Jed's slice of the pie, where it will be relatively seismic. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Like, does everyone need a solo book? That's just my question. I get Jean Grey again. A lot of hype from her appearing in the Spider-Man movie. It's not spoilers, it's been 3 weeks. Sadie Sink doing a tremendous job. Jean Grey is back in the public consciousness. She officially unofficially kicked off the X-Men in the Marvel universe, right? She is that tentpole standalone character because we've already seen her from the Spider-Man movie. So I get it again. Marvel Comics looking up at the movies and going, what can we do? Okay. Jean Grey, yes. Now, yes, they already had a DNX crossover already planned. This was already kind of set up on that side. I just don't know if a 5-issue limited series, like, is Jean Grey that character that can, I mean, yes, I guess she can carry it, but should she? Is she that big in the comic side as she is on the MCU side? And even that right now, we haven't seen all of it yet. So maybe I'm being pessimistic. And if I am, just tell me in the comments. I might disagree. I might be like, I don't know, but I probably am. I just don't know if everyone needs that. I don't. But if you're a big Jean Grey fan, jump on it. Jed MacKay, he's on the book. The art, if that cover was any indication, is going to be great. No, it's a different artist, but still, I just don't know. It's the same story with Jean Grey. The Phoenix is headed down. When she touches down, will she consume all she touches, or will she maintain control? If you had told me anything about Jean Grey, I would have said the same thing. Like, will she maintain control of the Phoenix, or will she succumb to its overpowering energy? That's kind of the Jean Grey story. Do I need 5 issues to tell me that? No. Again, it could be me. It could be me. So that's my thoughts. Last thing though, got one last little piece of news, and I'm actually really happy to share this because I think I've said this before on this podcast or this little show here, whatever. Marvel's been just the champs in terms of putting out these 5-issue limited series and not giving a book a real chance to breathe, because by the time it starts, it's almost over. And a lot of it relies on the sales, which Marvel, for the most part, is losing to DC across the board anyway. So that's a losing battle from the get, right? But you're not giving these books enough of a chance to succeed, and they cancel them. So when Spectacular Spider-Man Brand New Day came out, which was a book that obviously was a tie-in, sort of, not really, to the movie, same name but whatever, but you bring back Dan Slott, who was a part of, he was the architect, you could say, behind Brand New Day, and Big Time and all of that. So you bring him back, and Dan Slott, to his credit, went and did the media tour and was like, hey, listen, buy this book because Marvel only has 5 issues that are slated, and if we don't finish this, like if we don't get a certain amount of sales, we're not going to get to more. I have more ideas, yada yada yada. I'm not saying that'd be disrespectful, just saying, like, you get the pitch, buy the book so I could do more than 5, right? And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen. It was that nostalgia hit for me, of going back to that time where I was younger and not. I didn't understand it. I did understand it, but I didn't understand why. But now, read a lot of books. Spider-Man's been in a bit of a tough period. So why not go back to Brand New Day and try to tap into something else and, reveal some different stories and that sort of thing. And Dan Slott as a Spider-Man writer is divisive. I think that's the word I would say, right? But I like him personally. I think there's some holes in terms of, how he writes women and maybe how Peter Parker is represented and some other things like that. But for the most part, I think Dan Slott kind of gets Spider-Man, and I enjoy reading his Spider-Man run. So news came out actually 2 days ago, not 2 days ago, yesterday rather. Dan Slott and Marcus Toe, who's been doing great work on the book from the art side. Just love Toe's line work. It's clean. Shows Spider-Man in all his glory. He's had the Punisher in this most recent arc. You have Mr. Negative, and I love Mr. Negative. So I think Toe's done a great job as well. But anyways, on CBR, which I got to share this too. Sorry, forgetting to share my screen here. They revealed that they are going to keep it going, which I'm really happy. With the miniseries that could become an ongoing series, never make it, really past the miniseries stage. This is from CBR, by the way. But this is a big deal. CBR exclusively announced that Spectacular Spider-Man will be graduating to an ongoing series of number 6 as the series moves past the Brand New Day era into Big Time era. So there's a cover of number 6, which I like. Pretty simple. Not a whole lot to say. Spider-Man, swinging across. You of course have oh my goodness, now I'm forgetting her name. I'm just gonna keep moving. You have his Spider-Man's excuse me. You have Spider-Man's, friends and allies there. And one of them on the cover. There it is. For those who are listening to audio, I apologize. Humberto Ramos, who did that. Shout out to him, who was obviously big on Spider-Man back in the day as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna read the solicitation real quick. Spectacular Spider-Man is moving past his Brand New Day and into the big time. The full scope of the series is revealed as the seeds Dan and Marcus planted in issues 1 through 5 move with them through time, where they will bloom into trees that could destroy Peter Parker. Not only we get more of Turncoat, whose full debut happened in number 5, but this issue introduces a big-time new villain, the Scavenger. I'm only 1 month away from the 50th anniversary of the Spectacular Spider-Man, so you better believe we've got big-time plans. Okay, listen, I told you I was excited. And I just read that solicitation. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm still going to get it. November 25th, I'll be there. But the Scavenger? Okay. Yeah, sure. I think, maybe this is me being a little jaded. I think Marvel thought, okay, 50th anniversary of Spectacular Spider-Man's coming up. Let's get the book running through that. That gives them 10 issues. That works. We get to the 50th anniversary of Spectacular Spider-Man. So, I said my words there. Excuse me. We get to the 50th anniversary of the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is crazy. We'll do a big special for that, big book for that, and then we'll call it a day and end on issue 10. That's where my jaded brain goes. Hopefully not, but I'm also hoping that Dan Slott's not going to exclusively just rehash these events. Brand New Day made sense given the movie and everything with that, right? Big Time, didn't really have a whole lot of thoughts on Big Time. I actually just went and reread some of that run just in my free time, and I was just like, oh, it was a story that happened. It was, you know. So I'm hoping that there is an idea to do more. And in the CBR article, Dan Slott goes more into his plans and how, hey, we can, do a book every month. And, he's excited, rightfully so, good for him. But as a reader, yeah, the Brand New Day Dippin' was nice. Let's branch from that. Let's create something different. I know you are kind of limited in what you can do with that historical book because you can't really change things in a crazy way, but you can make an entry point for newer readers to go back and read a storyline that touches that time period but makes more sense and is a lot more coherent. um that's something you can do. And yeah, I mean, this book is going to be limited at some point. I would say the max I could see this book running is like 15 to 20, because again, there's only so much story you can tell, but at least you're getting more than 5. And I like that Marvel is at least taking a swing on that. I hope they do that for more books, that show promise. I'm pouring one out for the West Coast Avengers. I missed that. They got 10, but I really wish they could have got more. Like, Marvel can take some more chances, and hopefully they will, in a way that not take chances like, oh, we did a whole new book for 5 issues, but we did a book we're going to invest in a little bit. We're going to see, if people really like it, and then we're going to go from there. So I don't know. I was a big fan of this Spectacular Spider-Man run. I can't speak for everyone that I know, but enough people did, at least, that Marvel is doing this for now. And the hope is they'll continue in the future with other books as we move into, the end of, we're almost end of summer into, fall, winter, new year. So, all right, y'all, that's all I had. Not a whole lot here, just some quick news on Marvel. I thought it was really interesting. Want to take a couple minutes to share that. Please make sure to follow me on YouTube at Corbin Loves Comics. I think that's kind of my name on all things, so Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. If you would, I would appreciate that. Got some more videos coming out. Actually going to get some written content coming out here soon. I'm not going to share more about that until I've actually written something, because otherwise the plan does not come into fruition, and that is just failure to launch, and I do not want to do that. But please stay tuned for that. But yeah, if you can subscribe, really would appreciate it. Give some feedback for me so I can know how to do better, improve my videos, improve my work, improve this podcast, all of that. So yeah, y'all, that's going to be it for now. Thank y'all again for tuning in. I'm Frosty. I really hope y'all Frosty. And until next time, keep reading comics. You already know. All right, y'all.